I'm back. Today is the last day of the month, and that means that... So, I'm gonna look over the past 3 months, like last time, of movies and TV stuff I've watched. Yeah, everyone who watches this knows what's going on. So this shit, 100 Years of Schalke. Schalke is a place in Germany, and this is a documentary about the football team from there, which is very popular, whatever. I had to watch this because it's one of the random burned DVD inside this box that a friend and I just decided to watch through, not the box from my last video, but I already gave numbers, like ratings to some of these. I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm just gonna put it on Letterboxd. More about that at the end of the video. The next in line in that box was 12 Monkeys, which I loved. Quality and enjoyment. So 12 Monkeys, quality 8, enjoyment 9. I really loved this movie. That's what I gotta rewatch that. It's a great one. 16 Blocks, however, kind of disappointed me. Like I was so bored during that. Very boring, bland action movie. 16 Blocks is like, it's a Bruce Willis thing. 12 Monkeys also stars Bruce Willis actually. But 12 Monkeys, it's a time travel-y science fiction movie. And it's really well done. Yeah, I love that. I don't know what to say. Then I watched Irreversible, which is a Gaspar Noé film, infamous for its graphic depiction of one specifically violent scene and one very intense and long rape scene. So yeah, for this one, big fat like trigger warning, viewer discretion advised. It's heavy, but it was so good though. It was such a great film. Like, those scenes made me so uncomfortable. I'm not saying that's, like... I'm saying the film is very effective at what it does. And I really, like, it's such a great, artful film. It's not just exploitation, you know? Knives Out was like, I love that. Also, enjoyment 10, quality 9. This is a murder mystery kind of story by Rian Johnson, who previously fucked up Star Wars. But yeah, this is a very different type of movie. This is great. It's good. I'm excited for Knives Out 2 and 3, which were already announced, which he's also gonna make. I love that. I don't want to spoil too much about the plot, but I think it's on Amazon. Check it out, definitely. 23 was another film within this box that we decided to watch alphabetically, now arriving at 2. This is a German production. It's from Germany. It's about a real-life hacker from like the 80s, I think? 90s? I'm not sure anymore. Karl Koch was his real name, which was also his name in the movie, but they called him Hackbart because that's his super cool hacker name. Some very cheesy so much cocaine. I don't know. It's fun. Check it out. It's nothing you have to have seen. El Mariachi though. It's a Robert Rodriguez movie. I love this shit. These mariachi. I talked about these before, I think, in another video like this, so I'm not gonna stay here too long. It's very low budget. It cost like a few $1,000 US. It's such a tiny movie and it's so charming. I love it. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, which I don't have much to say. I do, but not much that no one else already said 1,000 times. I love specifically this first movie. The Lord of the Rings trilogy are such great pieces of film. And we followed that up, of course, with The Two Towers, the second one. We planned a marathon, but we only got it through the first 2 movies because of time, because it's long. We watched the extended cuts. For those who are always like, oh, the extended cut, the theatrical versions are alright. They're shorter, but those are the movies that won all the Oscars. Stop whining about the theatrical versions of Lord of the Rings. They are perfect movies still. Like, there's only 1 or 2, like, there's very few things that I say would have to be in there. Like, the only thing, in my opinion, that should have been in the theatrical version that isn't is, spoiler, Saruman's death. Everything else, it's just extension, you know? So next up in that box I talked about, there was the TV show 24, the first season of it. And it's a fairly popular TV show. People seem to like it, but like this dragged on forever. I don't want to talk about it even, because it was pretty fun here and there, but I think there's some... The basic premise is that every episode is 1 hour long and plays out across like 1 hour in the real world. So with the first season having 24 episodes, at the end of that season, it has told the story of one entire day. But the plot of the show, besides that, doesn't really mesh with that, because so much shit happens that would have happened across longer stretches of time. It's like this one character had a rape incident in her past, like 7 years ago, and we've waited till now for all the drama around that one thing to happen now, because it needs to happen in the show, and it happens to happen within this one day. Meanwhile, the main plot is actually about terrorist attacks and stuff. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it much more, so I'll just go on, because fuck you, my show. Another TV show, The Pillars of the Earth. It's episode 6, so I don't know if I talked about this in the last video. Don't remember. It's an alright show. I'm just gonna go on, because it doesn't fucking matter. Twin Peaks, however, still a TV show I absolutely fucking love. Jesus, I watched the first 1.5 seasons. I watched the first half of season 2. Haven't ordered the second one yet, because from all I've heard, the second half is by far not as strong. But I need to get around to it to get through that and then get to the finale, which is actually pretty fucking good, because David Lynch came back, and David Lynch, he's great, and he came back to the show to finish it off. Gotta continue watching that, because I love Twin Peaks. I watched 28 Days Later again. But I have an excuse for rewatching this movie again this time, because 28 Weeks Later, the sequel to this, I knew that that was one of the films in that box set, but my friend hadn't seen 28 Days Later yet, and so I said we gotta watch that one first. Not because it's necessary to understand the plot, just because it's way better than 28 Weeks, but we'll get to that. Eraserhead! More David Lynch! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Love David Lynch! Eraserhead was David Lynch's first feature film from 1977. Fairly low budget production. It went on for 5 years because they kept running out of money. But the end product is such a fucking amazing film. I loved every minute of it. It's so strange. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's David Lynch. Everyone knows by now that I love David Lynch. Although I've never seen one of his films before this year. I just can't stop. It's so good. He continually amazes me with his being.
What the fuck?
Is that a fucking cow on the street?
Some kind of cow.
What is that?
Dude, check it out. It's David Lynch.
What the fuck is David Lynch doing? He's just sitting on the
He's just
fucking
chilling,
corner of
fucking
La
talking
Brea
to
in
people.
Hollywood. With a fucking cow!
It's amazing. I love it. Check out Eraserhead. Oh, actually, it's really not for everyone. I loved it though.
Do I just cut them up like regular chickens?
Sure, just cut them up like regular chickens.
Zombie 2, however, the Zombie 2 / Zombie, because in some countries it's Zombie 2 and some it's Zombie or Zombie Flesh Eaters or whatever other title you can think of. This is, okay. Dawn of the Dead is a zombie film which was marketed in Europe as Zombie, but also using a different edit of the film, so it's not the same thing as Dawn of the Dead. Zombie 2, with just an I, is the unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead in Europe, the European cut specifically, which is called Zombie, even though Dawn of the Dead is already a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, Zombie is the unofficial Italian sequel to the European version of Dawn of the Dead. That all out of the way, Zombie 2 is amazing. I found this on YouTube and watched it right there. It's a low-budget, cheap Italian horror movie. And there's the most infamous scene from this movie is, of course, when a woman decides to go diving and she's underwater and it's all cool, and they actually shot underwater. It doesn't look that bad. It looks like because they are underwater. And then inexplicably, there's a zombie underwater. Till then, there wasn't really a zombie outbreak. There's surprisingly few zombies through most of this film. There's a zombie underwater for some reason, and he starts groping at the woman. I don't know if he tried to kill her. It looks more like he's trying to rape her. Also, she's topless for no real reason. But then there's a shark. No, first there's the shark. She goes up top and says, guys, help, there's a shark. Goes back down, then gets attacked by the random zombie. Fights him off by pushing coral in his face. Flies off. And then the zombie is just like, fuck it, I'll fight the shark. And then the zombie fights the shark. I love Italian movies. It's so fucking bizarre. This bullshit is amazing. I love this crap. It's cheap. It's not a good film, but it's entertaining, you know? The Cottage Girl Murders. This is a German movie from the 60s. It's a crime movie. The German title, actually translated into English, is the Monk with the Whip. It's, think KKK, but in red, with a white whip. And he's a monk, and he attacks this college. Also, there's some poison that some guy invented before he got killed by the monk, which he gave to other people, who then made other people also attack the college. It's also kind of bizarre. It's a German crime movie from the 60s. It's on Netflix over here. Don't know about other places. You can check it out if you want. Like, skip through it. It's fun. Oh god. Yeah, I got into rewatching Saw. Saw 1. I love Saw 1. Everyone knows that I love Saw 1 by now. So I've watched that a 1,000 times. I watched that at my friend's place the other day again, because she'd only seen it that one time we did a She'd only seen it that one time we did a marathon. She'd only seen it that one time we did a marathon. She'd only seen it that one time we did a marathon, so I rewatched it with her, and we had a good time. Saw 1's always fun. Check out my Letterboxd review for more on that. More of 24, which kept on fucking dragging. 28 Weeks Later, the sequel to 28 Days. I've also already talked about this. It's much weaker than the first one. It's an alright, like, horror sequel. It's much more action-oriented. In my opinion, they used the main theme way too often. The original used it once. But it's fair, I guess. Then Lord of the Rings 3, The Return of the King, in the extended cut. I've already talked about these. In this one, obviously, in the extended cut, Saruman dies, and that is not in the theatrical cut for some reason, so yeah. That's the only thing I think bumps down the theatrical version of this third one specifically. Then some more Pillars of the Earth, fuck you. Charlie's Angels! Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. Yeah, this was strange. It's terrible, obviously. It's the sequel to the shitty reboot of Charlie's Angels from the early 2000s, starring Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu and other people. And there's a motorcycle chase with, like, the fucking special effects going... wild. This movie is trash and it knows it, and it just has a fun time with it, I guess. 300. Zack Snyder's second film. And Zack Snyder, now with the whole Justice League thing, talked about a lot. This is a alright movie. It's quite good. It doesn't have much to say, but it looks nice. It looks very nice. And I'm not just saying that about the abs. This is a very gay movie, considering how straight the movie is. So much of this movie is just oily man abs. I'm not into buffness that much. Look at me, I'm a sausage. Those are words that just came out of my mouth. Yeah, I don't know what Zack Snyder thought about those guys, but good for him. The gayness of this movie is not that big of a deal, I don't know why. The Seven Dwarfs, another German movie. I gotta stop with the German shit. Oh god, this was with 300 also part of that box. We reached the number 7. It's a shitty German comedy, which on recent rewatch hit me as such a sexist and racist fucking movie. This is a movie from my childhood though, so I did have a fun time, I guess, even though I this time laughed a lot because of bad jokes and not because I thought they were funny. But yeah, going on to movies, which I have a lot more to say about. Saw 2 severely fucking sucked. Jesus! This movie, Saw 2, okay, I had this extensive fucking letterbox review, which you can read, please do, because that's much more detailed. But Saw 2, in comparison, it's so boring. Actually, I don't have so much to say about this, because I already said everything on that letterbox review. I mean, if you hear, you care enough, I guess. You can care enough to pause and read. If not, just keep going. Doggy Heaven. Alright, so the first Saw by James Wan and Lee Winnell, and Doggy Heaven is a short film by those two guys. Lee Winnell stars in it as guy who runs over dog and then gets killed by dog owner and then goes to dog heaven and then gets raped by a dog in dog heaven and then files a dispute to get out of dog heaven. It's just 10 minutes, but it's a wild ride. I had a fun fucking time with this one, other than Saw 3. Fuck that. I didn't have as much of a good time with this one, which is weird. I'm gonna have the letterbox review I wrote right here. You can pause again if you want, but one thing I want to add to that is that for some reason, I think I enjoyed Saw 2 and 3 much more when we watched the marathon. Because 4 and 5 are very, very boring. So it's much more so so that it pushes up Saw 2 and 3, I think, in my memory. And then 6 and 7 are just very entertaining. But Saw 2 and 3 on their own as movies don't hold up. It's just, Saw 2 is alright. I get liking Saw 2. Also, this is what the Saw series is. Saw 2 and 3 and 6 are the essence of Saw as a series, which weirdly excludes the first one. Saw 1 is not what Saw is anymore. Saw 1 is kind of just the precursor to what the series becomes, which is Saw 2 and 3. So I guess many Saw films really enjoy these two more so than the first one, because these have elements. The first one isn't gory. Many people didn't like that, or the low budget aspect of the first one. But I think the first one is just the better movie. So in my head, Saw 1 and Saw as a franchise are very different things. Because Saw 1 is good and I love it, but I'm also a fan of Saw as a franchise, like this shit separately. Like I did this time, watching these as separate movies which follow up after Saw 1. They just don't work as well. They don't hold up as fun. They aren't as fun as the first one was. Then Your Name, which it's an anime which was very hyped some while ago. It's on Netflix and it's great. It's a beautiful film. You know, I stopped rating the number thing for this video, by the way, to just cause I don't feel like it. Trust my words about the movie, not the number. So go to my letterbox if you want to read that. Your Name is so good. The entire hype somehow went over my head. Like, I did not know this film happened until an old friend and I watched it. And it's great, it's beautiful, it's an anime, it's accessible, so just check it out. I think most people will like it. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It's a fun comedy about old people going to a hotel in India. And it's not as prestigious as they thought, and then fun things ensue, and there's one old guy who's gay, and he tries to reconnect with his lover he had back there, because he grew up in India. I just spoiled that, by the way. And then once he does, and realizes that he didn't bring shame upon that guy's family as he thought he did, he goes home, back to the hotel, sits in a chair, and then dies. Because all he wanted in life, he knew that his sickness would get to him. He wanted to die in India, and that plotline. That's just an example of the heart that is within this movie. But it's also just a fun comedy starring Bill Nighy, who I know primarily from the Cornetto movies and Pirates of the Caribbean. Judi Dench, who's from the James Bond films as M. Other people are in this. I don't remember, but it's a fun time. I watched this with my mum, by the way, who also really enjoys this, because this isn't my DVD. This is my mum's movie. Then I watched Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino's debut feature film, his first movie, which I loved. It's much more subdued than most of his follow-up work, primarily because of budget. It takes place for large amounts of it in one warehouse, but I like it. This isn't as much of a Tarantino thing, even though at the same time it's the most Tarantino thing ever. Although I gotta say, there's not a single foot shot in this. Quentin Tarantino had to step up his foot fetish game at this point. I don't know if I'm gonna put this in the final edit. Going on. I loved Reservoir Dogs. At some point I started reviewing everything I watched on Letterboxd, which I'm gonna get to in a moment after finishing this last film I watched, which is Grand Budapest Hotel. A much better film than the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, because it's so well made. Like, every shot in this is so beautiful. Grand Budapest Hotel is just amazing. It's fun, it's funny, it's weirdly dark, and once you've seen it once and start watch it a second or third time even, it's kind of tragic, because it's, if you know what happens in the end, which isn't even shown, it's just like a throwaway thing, it's deeply sad. It's, oh god. But I love Grand Budapest. It's a 10 out of 10. I know I just said a thing about numbers, but yeah, at least very close to a 10 out of 10. I don't know. Very good. So now about Letterboxd, which I'm gonna open up right here. This is a website like IMDb where you can mark films you've seen and review them and give them stars, and you see the rating of the film. This is The Exorcist 3, which has an average rating of 3.5. And then I can say I watched it, or I liked it, or I want to watch it, which I actually do. Put that on my watch list. I started reviewing every film I watched right here, and you can tag the date on which you watched it. So right here are like the last few films. We have Saw 1, 2, 3, Doggy Heaven, Your Name, all this shit. Hey, Nightmare on Elm Street, which I didn't even put into this chart thing. So I still gotta do that for this video, I guess. Here I gave it a 7 out of 10. Before I watched the movie, with everything I knew about it, I expected an 8 or 8.5 for me, because it seems like the thing I'd love. But I say all that right here. Overall, I did like it, and I think I'm gonna love it more on the second watch. That said, I am going to fuck these charts right now and continue these videos, doing these videos with my Letterboxd diary, just because it's easier for me, and then I can already have the review there and go over it and do a really quick thing, because if you want a more in-depth thing, like I did with that last video, including First Night, Quest for Fire, and that transphobic TV movie, I'm gonna do those then primarily on Letterboxd, and in these videos from now on just really give my quick thoughts. So this should do title, date I watched it, rating, release year, whether I liked it or not. This is empty if I've never seen it. There's this thing if it's a rewatch, and then here we can click on this and see my review. All of you know, follow me on fucking Letterboxd. I know none of my friends have Letterboxd accounts, but come on guys, it's fun. Oh, one thing left, because one advantage these charts, these Google charts have, is that I can calculate averages for all the numbers I put in here. The added runtime of things I've seen so far is 46 hours, 1.9, about 2 days this year, which is much, much less than last year. But also, I mean, this was just half a year, but still much less. The average length of a film, 107 minutes, which is 1 hour 47. The average runtime for a TV episode, from what I've watched at least, is 48 minutes. I've seen about a fifth of the films that I watched this year before, which is I think less than last year. I watched a lot of new stuff this year that I didn't know before. The average FSK, which is obviously this age restriction thing, is 13 point whatever, which makes sense since 16 and 12 are the most common ones, at least in my repertoire of movies I watch. Anyway, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching this again. I'm gonna start editing now, which I should do more different content, which I have planned. I should have upcoming, but I'm gonna be on vacation, so maybe see you in a few weeks. Good.
Mein Mutter ist ein Doktor, mein Vater ist ein Krankenschwester. Mein Mutter ist ein Doktor, mein Vater ist ein Krankenschwester.